Welcome to Uccello's 40 Days Media Luncheon. Our players, quarterback Heath Parling, defensive lineman Isiah Dunning, head coach Matt Mitchell in the middle. Coach, if you can talk about the game last week against Tiffin, and then we'll move on to the Battle of the Valleys with Saginaw Valley.
Obviously, we'd been struggling in previous games to get off to a strong start. We were able to do that against Tiffin. They deferred, and we got the ball and went right down the field and scored. It wasn't necessarily easy. We were able to convert on some third downs and keep drives going. That was probably one of the biggest things from the previous week to this week was our ability to extend drives with third down conversions. I think we were 13 of 14 on third down conversions and had been really ineffective on third and fourth down the previous week. So our offense was efficient. We had no pre-snap procedural penalties. We did not turn the ball over, which was huge. We had great ball security and were very good at the quarterback position, making decisions with the football. And obviously we were able to run it a little bit better than we had too. So got some different guys involved, with some of the coverages that they were playing. We felt like some of our matchups inside might be a little bit better. So you saw Joe Robbins get involved in the passing game as a slot receiver. Brian Moran had some of his first touches and his first touchdown as a redshirt freshman. And I thought Heath did a great job of spreading the ball around. There were some times where they brought some pressure, and he just did a good job of avoiding the pressure, and they were in man and didn't have eyes back on the quarterback and took off and ran. And one of his touchdowns was on a scramble, and the other one was on a boot where there was nobody there, and he just kind of ran it in. So good day for our quarterback. Obviously 6 touchdowns total, 4 passing, 2 rushing, was the GLIAC player of the week, and really came out in his final game as a senior here at Lubbers, and did a good job leading our offense. We were a little banged up with some other guys. From a defensive standpoint, it obviously helps to play defense when you're not out there a whole lot against a very good quarterback. Antonio Pipkinen was up there in a lot of the passing statistics in our league as a very good player, as a true sophomore in our conference. And we only played 47 snaps of defense. That's less than what we played the first half against Ashland. And the time of possession is not something we really aim for, but at the end of the day, when we possess the ball for 40 to 60 minutes and our defense doesn't have to be on the field, it helps our guys on that side. So specifically on defense, good job, with the back end of our defense with communication. We didn't really bust much in terms of our coverages, kept the game plan kind of simple, allowed our guys to play a lot more zone coverage. There was a lot more eyes on the quarterback, a lot of vision and break. We did enough with our defensive line to disrupt him. He's a difficult guy to sack, but we did enough to disrupt the running game, enough to disrupt him in the passing game. And then I really thought, a key couple series for us defensively, when they got the ball to start the second half and got down there, for us not to give up the touchdown on the back-to-back, red zone possessions at the beginning of the third quarter, really, was big for our defense. Did not allow them to crawl back into the game and, get some momentum. So we were able to get some younger players on the field at the end of the game, which is good for the future of the program on both sides of the ball. And from a special team standpoint, they didn't really hurt us, and they helped us in a couple situations. And it was kind of a complete team game. So always good to win. It's always good to win at home, and on senior day, it's always great to get a victory. So I think we had a locker room that, given some of the frustrations of the year, we felt good about our performance overall. Sets us up for the game against Saginaw Valley. I know that both squads coming off playoff appearances are maybe not having the types of seasons they anticipated, but it's still a rivalry game. I think a win over for either school, a win over each other would give you a tremendous amount of momentum heading into the off season, your winter workouts, recruiting, and really set you up. So I'm sure they probably feel the same way over there. They've struggled on the offensive side of the ball. They're not quite as efficient as they were last year. Large part of that is they lost a lot of talent. I mean, they had an NFL wide receiver and a senior quarterback that had been a 3-year starter and was a very, very good player. And they're struggling to replace some of that productivity. They've played 3 different quarterbacks throughout the course of the year. It seems to be based on statistics and the tape that they've kind of settled in with Tyler Palka as their starting quarterback, who's a redshirt freshman. He's their leading rusher right now, so he's a kid that can do some things with his feet to keep you off balance defensively. And their leading receiver is Brian Fobbs, who was a transfer that came in, and Andrew Dillon, who we saw last year, is a really good receiving tight end in our conference. So they've just struggled to run the ball effectively with the running backs. They've used the quarterback a little bit more, and because of they've had a little bit of revolving door at the quarterback position. I don't think their passing games got up to speed. So they're, just offensively not as productive as they were last year. I don't think their defense is that bad. I just think their defense is on the field a whole lot because their offense isn't very productive. And so, statistically, you take a look at Saginaw's defense, and it maybe is not as good as some of the other ones, but I think they kind of are on the field quite a bit, and so it's harder for them from a statistical standpoint to look as good as some of those other defenses. So for us, it's another opportunity to go out and play, another opportunity to represent Grand Valley football and in a rivalry game against Saginaw Valley, and I'm sure we'll get after this week in terms of our preparation and hopefully end this season with a win. Questions?
Heath and Isiah, can you talk about the rivalry with Saginaw Valley, compounded by also it being your last games?
Yeah, it's an important game, like Coach Mitch said, for many reasons. Saginaw, obviously, dating back probably 10, 15 years, Grand Valley Saginaw has had some very important, very competitive games. So it's important to carry on that tradition. It's important because it's our last game. Seniors' last chance we get to play college football. And then I would agree with Coach Mitch for the momentum of the program moving into the off season and just with everything that goes along with that. So, we know they'll be ready to play. They always are, and we respect their program a lot. And so we're looking forward to a good contest on Saturday.
Just like he said, it's very important for both programs. Even with both teams not having the seasons like they expect to have this year, it's going to be really big for our program going forward with recruiting and just big for our program as a whole.
I mean, obviously, in seasons past, this rivalry has had more, significance towards the end of the season. But do you guys still feel like going into this game, does this week still feel like a rivalry week? And is that manifest itself in your team this week?
I think so. I think, probably if you look at the rosters, a lot of players who know each other, who've played each other in the past, either in high school or obviously last year twice in a row. So, I think anytime you suit up against Saginaw and no matter what, it's kind of, you use the expression, toss the records out the window, I guess, kind of thing, whatever. But it's got to be important. But more importantly, it's just another chance to play football. For us, it's the last chance to play football, at Grand Valley. And it's going to be emotional, but it's going to be really fun. So I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, Matt, how have you changed as a coach in the past 3 or 4 weeks? When you don't have the playoffs on the horizon, but you're still looking to motivate the team. How has that changed for you?
That's really good question. I think, when you don't have some of those extrinsic motivators hanging out there, you really need to focus, I guess, with individuals in your program. I think our assistant coaches have done that about the improvement piece, about getting better from week to week and how we can improve. I think we focused on with our senior class about this is still about, it sometimes my chair gets a little bit frustrating because, when you're at Grand Valley and the playoffs are out the window, there's some opinions out there like, what are you playing for? That frustrates me. I think that these are competitive athletes that really enjoy playing the game of football. They're passionate about football. They're competitive. Are they frustrated that some of those postseason things are not going to be there? Sure, but at the same time, they're not, playoffs aren't for Grand Valley. We're just going to turn our equipment in. That's not the consensus, within the locker room. Like, they still want to go out and play, and they want to compete, and they want to win. And that still occurs every Saturday, So for them as seniors, they want to win. They want to go out and they want to win. And I think it's important to them because a lot of these guys have been in the program. They're not transfers. Our senior class, guys that recruited here, were redshirted here, have been a part of this university, this athletic department, this football program for 4, 5, 6 years, and in a couple guys' cases 6 years. And the culture piece of the thing, the fundamentals of who we are is important to them too. So they want to make sure that they're upholding those standards moving forward, even though it's not out there, to still go out and play well and win and perform and that. So I don't think it's been frustrating for me personally that we haven't maybe reached our potential and our expectations, but there's been less massaging and managing of our roster as maybe you would think, having to deal with that. I think that these guys have showed up to work and have really embraced what we got to get done, and for the most part our rosters kept plugging forward and kept moving ahead.
Coach, talk a little bit about the senior class and what they've meant to you and the program since this was your first recruiting class.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a group in general that's been they've been great. I mean, they've been great on the field and they've been great, off the field. Probably more importantly, it's a group that's achieved extremely high academically. I mean, most of these guys are on track to graduate in December. There's a few that's going to graduate in May. There's a few that have already graduated. I mean, Heath's already got his undergraduate degree and is currently, enrolled in a grad program. So they've taken advantage of their opportunities from a educational standpoint. I think they've done a great job representing themselves in our football program. I mean, these guys have done a lot of community service and a lot of good and a lot of things that don't really, show up in the paper sometimes. And so they've also, took us to this is a senior class, was a big part of a semifinal season last year. So is it disappointing this year? Yeah, it's disappointing for the senior class this year, but when you look at the totality and the work of their resume, I think they've taken advantage of their opportunities here, within Grand Valley State's, mission of what they've been able to do, and they provide some leadership in some tough times. A lot of these guys, the two guys flanking me specifically, have provided a lot of leadership on both sides of the ball in our program, and done a good job. So it's a good mix of I think a good mix and a good kind of a little bit of a microcosm of hopefully this senior class is what our program should be, just in terms of everything. And I get we haven't won and we haven't done as good a job as we could this year, but I can't fault the effort and the way that these guys approach things day in, day out regarding the senior class specifically.
Okay, that'll take care of it for today's media luncheon. Thank you.